Okay, good, good. A lot of good things going on in your playing. You tell me you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me loud enough. Um, so there's one of the things that's actually the opening of this concerto is actually very difficult. There's something I want to see about your fourth finger on your right hand. I'm having a hard time seeing it, but I'm going to see if I get a better view of it during the. Actually, could you do me a favor? You know, there's a light. Your music light is actually pointing right at the camera. Yeah, that might help me to see your fourth finger. Great. Might not. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Because I'm just trying to check what's going on. Okay, so the opening. Do you know the tutti of this opens of the orchestra?
Like the first
Yeah. The very first notes you hear of this concerto.
um
It's and it goes on from there. Yum ba dum ba da, so bum ba da dum, yum ba da da, in minor, but the same idea. It presents it in B minor. But what's a little bit hard about this opening is it's two short phrases like dum ba da dum, yum ba da dum. Yum ba dum ba dum bum 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 bum, and then one very long phrase that leads all the way da da da. ya, then into the next key. When you come in, I'm going to get this microphone out of the way just so I don't hit it with my bow. When you come in, the cello, often people think, and then they think that's the end of the phrase, dum ba dum ba dum, but it's not. It's the same pattern. It's short, short, long. So then it goes all the way. It goes. Then going to there, and fortissimo, more, even more. So you have to save a little space dynamically for the fortissimo that comes after the forte. But you have to make this line. Now, one of the first choices you have to make, is it going to be, or is it going to be the first B or the second B, or could be a little bit of a, that's a little bit too many B, 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 B. So it's better that they have some kind of logic. You have to make these musical choices even before you talk. I mean, we talk about technical things, but every technical thing comes from a musical decision. Everything, it's like saying you get in your car. I mean, your car is a machine capable of driving. It might be a great car, but if you don't know where you want to go, what's the point? There's no reason to drive if you don't know, if you're not. So you always have to make the decision first. Where are you trying to go musically? That will show you what you need to choose technically. Now, so let's try this opening. Do you have kind of an instinct of whether you'd want to go bam ba da dum or bam ba da dum to the first B or the second B?
Yeah.
Which one? First B or second B?
First one.
Okay. Just the first note. Okay. By the way, I notice you're holding your cello a lot. I don't know if you guys can see me well enough. I'm like a little tiny thing on my screen, but you're holding it quite a bit like this, turned this way. Try to set the cello kind of straight. Basically, set the cello straight and then move yourself around as you need to. But all right. Let me angle this down a little bit. I am catching with my knee right here, like there's a little protrusion under my knee. For me, and everyone's like shaped differently, so it's not going to be the same, but for me that catches just over the edge here, so I can control the cello this way. But you should be able to control your cello, you should be stable without having to use your arms at all. This should be kind of stable so it's not falling. I just worry when I see people this way, like if they tighten their legs at all, the cello starts to go away from them. So it should be that, you relax, that you're comfortable there. I can't quite see your knees, so I'm going to trust you on that. Now, one of the things that's important to play the cello is to put a break where the phrase has a break and to not put a break where the phrase doesn't have a break, so that you bum ba da dum break, bum ba da dum break, bum ba bum ba ba, no break, bum 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 ba. So play for me once with not the chord.
From there, or?
Yeah, right from there. Yeah, that's the phrase. Ba ba. Then the chords are just. Hang on a second. Should I tune first? Okay, yum ba dum ba da. Also, bum ba da bum, front of the phrase, bum ba da bum. Now, let's not be boring. If we hit the B one more time, it's kind of boring. So rather, this phrase goes. Bring out the F sharp and do it by using more bow on the F sharp than you used on the bow. Start one more time, beginning. Yeah, and then break after that first phrase. Real break. Good. Good. Now, these chords, so it doesn't sound like we're just chopping down a tree, you know. We don't want it to sound like just kind of rap. So we have to vary a little bit. What I do is I use, first of all, we want to bring out the top note, so a little bit of vibrato on the top note, but also I use a little bit more bow, so it's like this. And I change kind of the timing. By the way, I do this on the D string so that they all have the same sound. Yeah. For me. Yeah, I think it sounds nice, actually, maybe. Good. Yeah, good. Give me for just a second, just open string. Yeah, just so that you get that sense of varying the timing a little bit. Because if the timing and the attacks are always the same, then it's just going to sound like so, but should have this quasi improvisando freedom to it. Little more time on the upper note. A little more time in both. Good, and then short, then jump up to fortissimo. Good. Little, I play that E right on this. It's hard to tell over Zoom, but I didn't think your vibrato was what I wanted there. Okay, do for me. This is kind of, so this for everyone. This is kind of a stupid exercise that I realized this is how Frank Kwong's mom taught my daughter to vibrate on the violin, but I actually started using it on the cello with my university students. It works really well. I use it for myself. Called the stupid exercise, but it's... above the note is part of what's important there, because what we're trying to do is make it comfortable. A lot of times when people have a bad vibrato on a note, it's because they're only comfortable vibrating like a portion of the note. They're not comfortable doing the whole oscillation above and below. And there's people who tell you that you only vibrate below the note. I don't think that's true. Certainly not true for the cello. I'm not going to argue violin, but in cello, you never see a good cello vibrato that doesn't go above and below the note. So you need to be balanced. Go. So a sharp, flat, sharp, flat, sharp. Yeah, and then now play the note. Yeah, I'm telling you, I mean, I have a lot of exercises for vibrato, but this one, as dumb as it seems, fixes things faster than any. It's like a 98% success rate usually. And it's usually because what it's doing is it's just forcing you to be solidly on your finger and oscillate above and below. And as soon as you can do that, your vibrato's solved. Let's go on. Good, and this will be, we're not going to spend time on it right now, but this is the same idea with the chords and the... And really take your time on this one, like, you know, that. Maybe just play this and go on for me. Good. what's happening musically there on the page? Sforzando, 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 right? Really battle it today. Then we come to something else, the hemiola part. But this, I need to hear all of those sforzandos the same. If they're all different, if it sounds, then we lose the bum, bum, bum. We lose that kind of, we need that similarity to make things, often to make things exciting in music, we need to be unmoving, unchanging. And then something else happens. Try that for me. Good. So, one of the things that's hard for you is don't go too far away from the frog. Stay right around. So, now, to get the emphasis on the up bow, you're trying to do it by staying on the string. That's hard. So I have to bounce up. The other way is what my teacher did is you could also separate those if you want, which is utterly fine because it gets the right musical idea. Or bounce. Good. 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 Now, something I almost always have to say to people, and you actually do pretty good a job of it, but because it's a master class, I'm going to say it anyway, because it's something people always do is, and they kind of let go of these, when they have a slur, they let go of the second or third note, so that, but if you play all three notes, if you almost like crescendo a little bit so you don't let go, then it's much more exciting. It makes much more powerful impact. You're pretty good at this. You're not doing what people. I actually think this figure, if he could have written it, if he could have gotten away with it, I think it would have been like 3 ups. I think it was that bum, ba, 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 bum. I think it's that idea, but then we get into something else. Just play right there, and we'll go on. Okay. To make the contrast, and remember, music is built on contrast. Classical music is beautiful and fantastic, but the enemy is to be boring. The enemy is to be all the same, that everything starts to sound, So we make music interesting, make it alive. The great musicians, the Heifitzes of the world, make the contrast, the change, and that means the change from legato to bounce. So what I'm talking about specifically, technically for you is come from above the string. So it does. If I start from the string, then the first one doesn't sound really dotted. So I'm just accept in tune, but from above the string for the first dotted one. Good, and where's the goal? The goal is all the way to the F sharp, right? So don't do what cellists often love to do. They make the big stop right before they get there. Go all the way to the note you're going to, even if you retard, but get to the note you're going to. Cellists love to pull up to 5 feet away from the destination and then stop. Okay, let's go on so we don't run out of time. These are duplets, then we're going to have to go to triplets, so don't rush your duplets. When you have, and this composer uses all the time, like 2 to 3, then 2 is the held one, and then the 3 is the moving one. Now, if you're going from 3 to 4, then 3 is the held one and 4 is the moving one, whichever one is the smaller units, but that means the duple should... So, triplets can move, but make the duples feel a little bit stodgy. Good. What's your fingering there? Show me one more time. How do you? Maybe 1-4, 1-3, or 1-4. Yeah. So. Yes, and this is for all of you. Get used to using your fourth finger. It will solve so many problems for you later on. But right now, what happens is it's weak, so people don't use it, and then because they don't use it, it's weak. You know, you never. It's like having like you skipped. I don't know, like. I don't go to the gym, so I don't know. But like you skip like some important thing in the gym, and like all the rest of your body develops, and that part doesn't. However, you could use 3 there too. I mean, don't get used to using 4 in scales and arpeggios. That's why I love the Greutzmacher Etudes. The book 2 of the Greutzmacher Etudes that has all this fourth finger and thumb position is great for developing. Or Zara used to when we did. Instead of 3, she would use 4 on the top of all arpeggios. Okay, let's go on. Forte piano, right? Good. So I want to tell you a general principle that I've learned over really the last 15 years or so. I started, okay, so I spent a lot of time thinking about like why do violinists seem to have kind of like naturally better techniques than cellists, you know, and we're kind of closing the gap, but it's still there for sure. And I think, of course, the instrument's smaller. Also, the repertoire pushes them a lot harder. I mean, one of the things I've discovered in my life is that when I push myself with harder repertoire, your technique builds. I mean, when you push yourself, and it doesn't have to be for public, but when you push yourself and study hard things, you may not play it perfectly at first or second, or you know, I've learned it takes me like 5 times of playing a piece like the Carmen Fantasy or something in public before I get a version that I can live with. But it raises the whole level is very important, so that you're always pushing yourself in your practice, that your etudes should be harder than your concertos. You should be pushing yourself kind of to, now the reason I wanted to, but the other principle is that violinists are rarely always an extension, the way we cellists are always an extension. We always use, and so I used to think about things like, okay, so I closed and then extended for the extended, close. That's hard to keep going back to open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Why not just, and so more and more I try to find places like where can I keep the hand in a natural position instead of not doing extensions. So for these trills I do 1-3 for the whole steps. Now, I know when you guys are young, it seems like not a big deal, but I'm telling you, every penny of energy you save not extending somewhere on the cello pays off later on, because it pays off in forms of relaxation. Later on, relaxation is, once you know the piece well, relaxation has got most to do with when you play into it. And it's not that you're always relaxed. We don't play the cello like a bowl of jello. No, you have to have energy, but it's you expend energy with the impact, and then you relax. So, not. Now, try to get these shorter. Good. Now, what's going to make this feel, for our audience, going to feel exciting? We have to feel like bada 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 bada. So you have to be almost like almost get it to the point where it feels exaggerated, too much agogic rhythmic accent. If it's too much, it's easy to take away later, but get enough. Good, and this is another place. Now we need variety, right? We've had. No. This, now a crescendo through there, right? Building something. Now, here's a fingering I just discovered. I'm kind of proud, like a year ago, I'm kind of proud of. 1, 1, 2, 3. Notice I'm doing a 3. Here's what Zara used to do for this section. So I'll do it one more time. Very useful fingering, okay? And then the last thing also, practices very little bow, lots of pressure, okay? Then gradually release the pressure, but very, very little bow. The shorter, if it sound bad. The less bow you can use, the more bow, and it's just a little impulse at the top. Practice that way. Okay, who's next?